Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three. He's going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Ortega connoisseur, Jake Bakoven.
I like Ortega and I like Pepper.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Hold up.
Happy Tuesday to all our On the Block listeners out there. I'm Jake Bakoven, and he is Eric Strickland, the Husker Hall of Famer, longtime NBA vet. And the NBA playoffs getting started tonight, at least the play-in tournament. So very excited to talk about that a little bit later. Lots going on. I guess maybe not lots going on, I suppose, in Nebraska athletics, but still lots to talk about. And we'll do plenty of that here on the block. Strick, I also wanted to mention, by the way, Husker softball, which has been doing really good. They've got like 15, 16-game winning streak going. 14-0 lead after 3 over Iowa. Now, Iowa's not very good, but still, Nebraska softball absolutely rolling. And also a little note here for the baseball side of things. Because of high winds and some weather problems, they moved up the game. So if you're planning on going at 6:30 tonight, I believe first pitch is now set for 6:05. So just keep that in mind in your plans if that's what you're doing. Strick, how are you doing today?
Doing good. Today's another good day. It's Tuesday, almost hump day. We're almost halfway through the week. Kudos. I mean, continue, just thumbs up. Power up for the women's softball team. They're doing their thing. They are blasting people right now. And so we hope that they would continue that process. Yes, as you said, the NBA playoffs, the play-in game is maybe some intriguing little matchups that are going on there. Nebraska baseball is still struggling a little bit, so hopefully they can get that turned around this week as well. And we'll talk a little bit about some coaching possibilities, and maybe maybe we can just delve into the crystal ball a little bit and see if they would have been able to continue with that coaching process that we had early on in that process, then maybe this could have been a whole different look. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll get into discussion, and you can text us about it at the Sauter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685.
Yeah, before we jump into our topics here, I did want to kind of, just go over, hit the text line for the end of the last show. We're talking about ESPN today released a list of their top 100 running backs in the last 60 years. So here in a second, I want to get your opinion, Strick, on the best running backs that you've seen in college ball. This is, but real quick, I wanted to get off to the text line. Somebody said, Husker fan here, but Marcus Dupree should be top 10. Unrealized talent, at least at a Herschel Walker or Bo Jackson level. There's a great 30 for 30 out there on Marcus Dupree. Lawrence Phillips, he says Lawrence Phillips, the top eye back in Nebraska history, not that close, makes him top 10 at least. As you remember the best corner, I mean, you were on campus with Lawrence.
Facts.
Was he on that?
Hey, listen, there may not have been an Ahman Green if he hadn't gotten in trouble. I mean, it would have been an Ahman Green because he would have left. But at the same time, it allowed Ahman Green to really step out into the forefront and do his thing. But listen, Lawrence Phillips was a next level dude. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and you wonder how things would have played out. And of course, Nebraska did win the championship. He could have came back for a senior, for what it's worth. But again, like you said, kind of opened up the door for Ahman Green, who did end up on this list too in the mid 50s. Mike Rozier ended up at number 8 on the list. Again, Barry Sanders number 1. If you think about the best,
facts,
you think Barry Sanders is number 1. Yeah.
Facts,
no problem.
The stuff he did on the field, that was all transcended. That thing carried over to the NFL. Yeah. He had the same thing, a terrible line there at Oklahoma State, and still he basically went from terrible to terrible and still put up the numbers. So yeah, facts.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go back and look. I think you've had at least 200, maybe 300 against Nebraska one year, but Nebraska overcame in one. But that was, and again, he came in and took Thurman Thomas's job, who ended up being a great in the NFL as well. So I think he was on that list even. So when you kind of think about the best running backs, I'd put him right up there. Our producer Nate says he'd take LaDainian Tomlinson over Barry Sanders. What do you think about that? Close comparison, at least, or not really? Not the same.
Stop.
Jeremy says Maurice Claret. The 1 year of Maurice Claret was awesome when he took Ohio State.
Yeah, I being so low to the ground, a bruising type of back. He got the job done. I don't think I put him in the top 25, but
no,
he definitely could probably fit on that list towards the bottom half of the 100.
Yeah, when I think about the guys that I've seen since about like 98, I was 8 years old or whatever, I'd probably go with Ricky Williams, Adrian Peterson, and I think Melvin Gordon gets overlooked a little bit. I'd probably put him somewhere in there, and Reggie Bush definitely would be pretty.
Yeah, Reggie Bush was special. And listen, there was a kid that a lot of people are forgetting about that was absolutely phenomenal out of Washington. His name was Napoleon Kaufman. That kid was. He was special too. Had a good career. Had a good career with the Raiders. Just didn't want to play football anymore. Just had a different life turn for himself and wanted to do something different. But he was something special in college.
Did he win a title at Washington, or was he a little after that? Yeah, I remember they won the title like early 90s, 91, 90, something like that. So. That's a good name. That you don't want these names to get overlooked. A couple other submissions here. Jeremy says, we already mentioned Maurice Claret. Brev says Ron Dane, who took Ricky Williams all-time rushing.
Wisconsin.
Well, definitely.
He was a big boy. Back then, like he was like Ickey Woods of college. He hits the hole and you look up and like he's 230 something, 240, maybe even 250. Yeah. He hits the hole as a linebacker. You're 220, 225 at best, and you're like, whoa, get a little stop on him before he gets going. Because Ron Dane, if he hit the hole and he saw a safety, it was a wrap.
Yeah, and you kind of think of the Derrick. I think he's probably not as muscular as Derrick Henry, but
he probably wasn't as muscular, but he was big. He was big like that. Yeah.
I think Derrick Henry you'd have to put up there. Maybe, he did win the Heisman. It's hard with the Alabama running backs. They all kind of just flow together with the best offensive line.
I would say Mark Ingram was probably, one of the special ones.
He won a Heisman
because he did a lot of different things. Yes, those guys, they ran. And actually, there was like when Henry was there was like three of them. Like you could rotate between all three of them. One of them, my name. His name just dropped the ball on me, but they had like three running backs, and one of them was special as a freshman, and he ends up getting injured like every year. I can't remember his name now. It's dropping me. If you know that name of that running back that was in that core with Derrick Henry in the group, and he just...
Was it Tenpenny?
No. I think it starts with a B. Maybe Bowman, something. I can't remember. But
I kind of remember that big.
You know what I'm saying? He was a big. They were all three of them were like real big. Yeah. But he went nuts on some games, and he just continued to get injured, and he made a little spot in the NFL, but just couldn't stick because it's just bad luck. Just continued to get injured. Yeah.
It's frustrating to see that happen, but it's bound to happen to some guys. I suppose that's the game of football.
Yeah,
I thought it was kind of funny, just kind of talking about the spring game, about playing two-hand touch so nobody gets hurt. My dad was like, "Well, if you don't want to get hurt, don't play football.
Don't play. Don't play, baby. That's gonna be a part of the game. Listen. Let's be real. That is a big reason to why I didn't play.
Yeah,
because when I was in high school, I ended up like separating my AC joint in my shoulder, and it was my shooting arm. So I'm like, I think I'm gonna chill out. And I started looking at the collective bargaining agreements for sports and what that looked like. And they're making the good money on their signing bonuses now, but back then, you might get a couple million. You know what I mean? Your contract wasn't going to be so, and then they could let you go right after that. I was like, nah, that's not for me. I need a little bit more guarantee.
Yeah, that's nice. There are some people that are fit in your boat where they can kind of choose. Some people just have to play football. You always, I'm sure you've played with a lot of football players playing basketball. You can always tell there's like a type. It's like a type even when you go to the gym. You're like, that guy's a football player. But he's athletic. He can, he can swat your shot. He can, do things that most people can't athletically do. But there's just something that maybe it's his body type or build or whatever. It seems like sometimes just not coordinated basketball wise, but could just drill you on the football field.
Yeah. Whenever people would see me after my years or even in my years, they would be like, and they may not know,
Yeah.
Because I'm 6'3", and I'm 6'3", kind of. I was stocky build, 225. I played at 220, between 220 225 as a guard, and people would always say, "Oh, you play football," and I'd be like, "No, I don't play football." And I used to love it. Bach, because I would get away with it if I just didn't want you to know what I did. And so I was a weird dude, man. I would say stuff like, they would ask questions because they would wonder. They're like, you got to build like somebody that plays sports, and they would ask, "Do you play football?" And I could say, "Yeah." No, I'd say, "No, I don't play football." And they didn't think basketball. So then they would say, "Well, what do you do?" And here's how my answer would be. I'd be like, "I'm an entertainer."
There you go.
and then they didn't know, like, "Are you a stripper? Or are you this?" I'd be like, "No, I'm just an entertainer." Yeah. And so that way I could get away with it without kind of letting people know what I did.
Do you ever give anybody an alias or say that you're a specific football player that you look like? Like that'd be pretty
but
cool.
you could get away with that though, because the helmets, right? I could literally say some stuff, and what you gonna? I mean, they didn't have social media. They didn't really have, they maybe if you went to their websites weren't like, like they are now. You can go there and kind of dig into who these particular players are, but back then, if you didn't get the booklet or something like that, being at the game, how did you really know?
Yeah, and I remember back in the 90s too. Even if you did get the booklet, it was like a black and white picture,
right? And you still could, yeah.
So it's not helping too much. Yeah. I did want to mention a few things, though, before we get going. The athletic department announced today a partnership with Altius Sports Partners. This is another NIL type deal that they have. Of course, they already have deals with Open Doors. They announced, of course, on Saturday.
Some more money?
Yeah, more money coming in. They announced Saturday they'll be paying all scholarship athletes up to $5,980 per academic year for academic progress, which there's only like 22, a handful of schools around the nation that are doing that. Yeah. And now, so Nebraska is now going to be a part of that too. I was a little bit surprised not to see them on the list because they are at the forefront of all this type of stuff. But now they're going to jump into that. And that's what Trev Albert said too on Saturday at the spring game when there were reporters around him, is that, they're going to find every way they can to be at the forefront of this NIL thing. And I just couldn't be, happier that they see this as an opportunity to take advantage of in Nebraska more so than other places, and to be at the forefront of it. Because I've said it for years that this thing has been, brewing for years. We've been talking about it before, and you just never thought it would happen. And now when it does, it's like, okay, Nebraska can take advantage of this thing. And it looks like they're going to do so. I also mentioned in the previous show, Arch Manning, of course, of the Manning family, and is a great upcoming prospect. Could choose to go wherever he wants to. On3 now has his NIL valuation over $2 million. And
it's the money. So basically, your boy Johnny Manziel, when he was doing that, he was basically projecting something, huh? Okay. The way that I love that Trevor's doing it, and I like this part of it, because one thing that Nebraska always can take credit for is having top tier academic excellence, right? People always say all the time, y'all, Nebraska, the program. I was like, but wait a minute, there's actually academic excellence there. We probably got more academic All-Americans than any program, and we compete with Notre Dame and the likes of them. Right. So people don't really understand that in Nebraska. And so what I like about it is that he's incorporating it with the academics of it. So that inspires you. You want the money, you got to get the class, you got to get the books. It also, I love the part of it for retention. And so you're talking about retention of the players, the academics of the players, and also now that they have to have certain criteria in their program with the kids that are on the specific teams, they have to have a certain grade point average, or you can lose scholarships, right? Yeah. So that's what I love, and how you're incorporating that. It's inspiring them to operate with a higher level of excellence in their academics.
Well, for me, especially that, I mean, that's something that every student athlete's going to get the opportunity to do. I think sometimes when we think of NIL, we hear about Casey Thompson or, kind of the bigger names and what they're getting. And we kind of think everybody's just making boatloads of money. But, throughout the athletic department, there's, a lot of student athletes. If you're not playing too much, hard to get much drummed up if you can. Sometimes it's just gift cards here and there, but nothing that's going to be too helpful life-changing wise. And I know, again, it's not I guess
it's not a life-changing thing, but listen,
life-changing money. But in
over the course of a college, listen, they're nice brew at the brass rail. That if you get a couple of them,
Yeah. I mean,
over the weekend, if you want to go to Amigos or you want to go down to Laszlo's and have you a nice little meal, shoot, at least you can do that. You can take your girl down there and have a nice little dinner now.
It goes a long way.
Yeah.
And again, it's for me, like every athlete can do it, but again, that's for just kind of like everybody that maybe is left behind in most of this NIL stuff. They can control it and still benefit off of it, and also the fact that money is coming from the university, which is loud. This was kind of an overlooked type of deal that helped happen during the NIL stuff as that got surpassed or got passed by law. This was also there, and it just kind of got overlooked. And I was surprised that happened because a lot of schools weren't taking advantage of it. But now Count Nebraska is one of them that is going to do it. So that's very exciting stuff. I did want to get to this too. As we look at the top coaches in the Big Ten, of course, Scott Frost has fallen in those ranks over the years. Very clear kind of what's going on with him. And this is a prove it year. I mean, you got to win this year, and his salary matches that. Among the salaries I looked up in the Big Ten, I think he's tied with Greg Schiano for second to last. Only Mike Locksley will be making less money over there at Maryland. We had $2.5 million. Scott Frost, Greg Schiano in there about $4 million. Recently, Jeff Brom over there at Purdue got a bump there. Now he's up to $5.1 million. He hasn't had a great run there. There's been times where it looked like he was going to take the Louisville job, and then there's been times where it looks like he was going to be left out in the cold and not be the next up-and-coming coach. But then last year happened. They got 9 wins, of course, 2 top 5 wins over Iowa and Michigan State, and so it was a pretty big deal for him. And I thought it was kind of cool to see him get that. But the other thing that really stood out to me was the idea beyond it and the athletic director, because I think Brom, I'd have to look at the exact record, has barely a losing record overall at Purdue. And so the athletic director kind of said, we want to build like Wisconsin, like Iowa, who has stability, program year in and year out, Big Ten players there. And he thinks that Purdue's kind of coming along in that fashion. And it's just been count Purdue in now as another team among the mix. Now, I thought that Purdue was an outlier, right? They're more of a passing offense. Aiden O'Connell's going to do that again this year.
Second in the conference and passing behind Ohio State. Mm-hmm.
They don't look like Wisconsin or Iowa, but just to say that kind of surprised me. And then it just kind of, if that's their goal, and I don't know if it's going to be, they're going to run the ball more or anything like that. I think they're pretty comfortable in what they got there going with Brom. So it's not, exactly the same identity that Iowa and Wisconsin has. But the Big Ten West is starting to get an overall identity of copy what Iowa and Wisconsin do. Minnesota certainly has done it. Had the biggest offensive line in the nation last year. And they'll bring out 2 tight ends, and those 2 tight ends are actually offensive linemen. They'll have 8 of them on the field basically at a time. And so we kind of seen how that's going. Illinois went to Brett Bielema, who was an original Wisconsin head coach that's won 3 Big Ten titles there. So the Big Ten West is kind of moving in that direction, and I guess you can count Purdue into it, is just kind of the copycat league of Iowa and Wisconsin. Now, you can have an argument about whether that's great for those teams individually as far as reaching the top end. Some people think that style of football kind of has a ceiling to it, and maybe we've seen that with Wisconsin over the years. But do you think Nebraska's in a little bit of getting left behind type of mode without really clinging to that? And for what it's worth, I think it's an identity that Iowa and Wisconsin took from Nebraska originally, right? Kind of this Midwest, we'll pound out, yards and tell you where we're going. We're going to run right at you. We'll have a hard-nosed defense, and that's kind of the recipe. And Nebraska's kind of been since Frank Solich, and we'll get to that here in a second too, has kind of gone away from like that into let's get the West Coast offense in here, spread offense, and we can recruit different, better athletes than all our competitors on the outside, and it's going to work out this way or that way. And they just maybe need to get back to smash mouth football because the rest of the division's doing it. They're getting a head start on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the way it's looking. I mean, not only are they doing it, they're trying to do it in that method. They may not necessarily go to an all-out assault on the ground game, but they're definitely looking to do it in other aspects too, because, at one point the stadium was considered to be one of the worst in the Power Five. So they're trying to do some stuff with their turf. They're trying to do some stuff with their meal and their basic training table. They're doing things within their medical facility. There's been people that have stated that their medical facility is some of the worst that I've ever seen. I think Michigan at one point where Jim Harbaugh had an injury with a player, they went in there and basically just lambasted the place. They're trying to do it in so many different ways with their tunnel. They're trying to provide a different experience for their fans. So they're also trying to upgrade in those aspects of their program as well. And so this will help in recruiting if you're going to do it. You're seeing the success that they're having on the basketball side of things. They're trying to create a holistic program in which there's success throughout the program in all aspects of their sport. They're doing very well in volleyball. They're starting to increase their print in the Big Ten, and they're just trying to lock it down in the football side of things as well.
Yeah, and I read that too. As part of the deal for Jeff Brom as he moves into the future, is going to be an expanded amount of money that he can use on assistants. So like you said, Ross-Ade Stadium getting an upgrade. This is the Big Ten money kind of coming through, and something that I thought would happen over the years as the Big Ten continues to get the best TV deals, and we hear about the next one coming around the corner. These middling teams in the Big Ten can start to raise their profile, start to have better facilities, and Purdue certainly is basically that team, right? They're the kind of middle of the pack type of team in the Big Ten, maybe towards the back as an overall team.
The West is really open. I mean, it's literally the wild west in the Big Ten. I mean, Nebraska has not taken its onus of that part of the conference, right? They haven't basically just stuck their hands in and said, this is ours. We're taking the gold. You know what I mean? We're owning this space. And they've allowed Iowa, they've allowed Wisconsin to dominate this side of the conference. And other teams are seeing that, Northwestern and as you said, like Minnesota, and these guys are looking at this like there's opportunity here. We need to go in and grasp it. And so that's why they're trying to raise their abilities and their profiles in the West.
Yeah, and it seems open, right? It's not one of the best divisions in sports, but it's got an identity to it. You wonder if Nebraska, instead of going against that identity and trying to find any which way, they got the best. I mean, Nebraska's going to claim to have the best this and that and recruiting and all that stuff, but it just hasn't turned over on the football field. And again, it's limited here as you talk about, is this a Nebraska problem or a Scott Frost problem in this case, right? I mean, sometimes it's just going to be the head of your program, but I do think if this Scott Frost thing doesn't work out, I've said it for years, and I said it before the Scott Frost hire, I'd like to see hire somebody, maybe maybe not Brett Bielema, but a Brett Bielema type that's going to bring back smash mouth football and hard-nosed defense to this, to the Midwest. I mean, that's how teams are winning, and that's the blueprint that Nebraska showed everybody how to win in the Midwest. And I just think Nebraska's gotten too fancy for themselves, and that's a great launching point to our next discussion. Frank Solich was honored over the weekend. They had to kind of put it off because of the COVID thing in the past year. He didn't coach this past year, but he's the all-time MAC leader as far as wins goes. And so I just wanted to throw this out there. I was not against the Frank Solich firing when it happened. I understood everything that happened in it. So this is just a different world, right? I'm painting a picture for you. Nebraska never lets Frank Solich go. They keep him all the way up until modern times. Let's say this upcoming season. Keeping in mind he is the all-time winningest coach in the MAC. What do you think the Nebraska program would have looked like over the last 20 years? We'll talk about that. It's kind of a fun little exercise we got going here based on Frank Solich, and really an honor of Frank Solich for what he's been able to do over there at Ohio. But does any of that translate back to Nebraska? We'll talk about that next year on The Block on 93.7 The Ticket.
This is Dan Friedman. Between 2010 and 2019, distracted driving caused more than 40,000 car crashes in Nebraska, resulting in over 14,000 severe injuries and deaths. Please keep your eyes on the road. If you have a smartphone, put it away while you're behind the wheel. It will help keep our community safe and secure. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices, helping injured people It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at freedmanlaw.com today.
Yo, it's the captain, Rashawn Jackson. Join me this Wednesday at Wingstop at 50th and O Street from 11 to 2 for Husker Sports Talk and, most importantly, wings. That's Wednesday at Wingstop at 50th and O Street, the official sponsor of the captain. Order wings ahead at wingstop.com. See you there.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive Certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and it's been a great start here to the year as 2022 new inventory continues to roll in. Our pre-owned lot remains full, and we are selling at a record pace. I was just down at Koppel talking about a new order for myself, and they let me know I can actually start ordering a 2023 here later this spring. So stop on in to get your new 2022, your pre-owned vehicle, or maybe talk about ordering here for 2023. Check them out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did.
Have you ever wanted to build a catapult? Have you ever wanted to launch something other than water balloons with a water balloon launcher? Do you want to be a national champion? Then you need to get a team and sign up for the National Avocado Launching Championship, May 21st in North Platte. That's right, the National Avocado Launching Championship is taking place right here in Nebraska. Launch avocados for fame and glory. Sign up at avocadolaunching.com. That is avocadolaunching.com. And remember, the top prize is $5,000.
Spring is on its way. Are you prepared to keep the grass greener on your side? Blades Lawn and Landscape is awaiting your call if you're looking to change services for your home owners association or anything else for residential or commercial jobs. Transform your yard into a private oasis with the professional services offered by Blades Lawn and Landscape. Call them today at 402-730-6320 or go to bladeslcc.com to schedule a free estimate on commercial or residential lawn services. Blades Lawn and Landscape.
Springtime is here, and it's time to get to work on outdoor projects. Deck City is a great place to start as Lincoln's local source for everything decks. Deck City has everything you need to build the deck of your dreams, from treated lumber to Westbury aluminum railings and TimberTech composite decking. Call them today to schedule an appointment at 402-480-6671. Go online at deckcityne.com or visit their new location just north of 33rd and Cornhusker Highway.
James Enterprise Incorporated, that company that hauls your gravel, rocks, and material for your farm or construction site, says thank you to the people of the healthcare community for putting yourself in the way of danger to save the public. That is what it means to be a hero and to build a beautiful legacy. This message brought to you by James Enterprise Incorporated. For all your hauling of rock, gravel, and materials, call them at 402-432-6740. That's 402-432-6740.
Hello, I'm Charlie Stone, back with the latest news from Honda of Lincoln. Joining me now is the general manager, Andy Goodyear. Hey, Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Charlie.
Hey, Andy, with spring right around the corner, how is your supply of new Hondas and pre-owned vehicles?
Really good, Charlie. As I've said before, when you drive by our lot, you don't see what you're looking for, just remember we have hundreds of new Hondas arriving soon, with Honda continuing to offer 0.9% APR financing to qualified buyers. Plus, we have over 125 pre-owned vehicles in stock and ready for immediate delivery.
That's great, Andy. Any more great news?
There is, Charlie. Honda just announced financing from 0.99% APR on certified pre-owned Hondas for qualified buyers.
So come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome Welcome back to On the Block here on 93.7 The Ticket. We're brought to you by the Mercado. Proud to be the sponsor by Mercado by Piedmontese. So thank you to those guys for helping us out. And I'll throw the banner up here on the Sartor Hamann Jewelers video stream because I forgot to do so. But there we go. Correction made. And let's talk a little bit about this. I want some engagement from you guys that have been watching Husker football for a long time, because I want to know what you would think would happen if we could just do this. We could make Steve Peterson's mistakes not hurt us all the way back in 2003. Nebraska, of course, in 2002 went 7-7 under Frank Solich. The next year would go 10-3, and then we all remember the lines. We can't let this conference can't fall to mediocrity. You can't let the likes of Oklahoma and Texas run the conference. And since then, things have gone awry for Nebraska football here and there. I don't like to say that as a blanket statement, because there's been some good years and some good times as well. But with the power of hindsight, do you think the last 20 years would have been better if they kept Frank Solich that whole time? Now, that's a big question. I know, you could probably run it through your head and kind of think, well, I think he'd make it to 2010 or something like that. But I'm saying in this scenario, he makes it all the way until the modern day, 2022, going into the season. Granted, he didn't go into last season either. So, I mean, I guess he didn't coach last season, so you could do it to the previous season. But up until now, Frank Solich was honored at an event here Friday night. So it was very cool. It was the winningest coach ever in the MAC. Of course, just kind of put Ohio football on the map, basically, and was one of the older coaches by the time he did retire a couple of years ago. And so a lot of opinions out there. So let us know. 402-464-5685. Let's just go down this path and kind of think, what would Nebraska football look like 20 years later had Solich stayed? Now, the obvious question to start is that he would have to move away from the option offense. I don't think the option offense would stick around as long, and that's what Nebraska wanted to do in 2003 anyway. So, he didn't run that necessarily at Ohio. Usually some type of spread offense, pistol offense at times, but run based. So you're still kind of getting that from Frank Solich. The recruiting obviously had dropped off from Tom Osborne, but still, you look at 2003 team with DeMario Williams, and I think Fabian Washington was probably there. Barrett Root. I mean, they had some guys, they had some dudes there, and maybe could have projected that moving forward. And then the other part about it that would have been fascinating is he had Bo Pelini as his defensive coordinator. How long would that have lasted? Probably several years until he would have been picked away. But Strickle, I'll allow you to go first. Do you think that Nebraska, the power of hindsight here, would be in a better position had they kept Frank for 20 years?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, you can just look at what he did from 2005 to 2020 at a program that is not Nebraska. And to go 115-82 only in his first 4 years did he even really struggle. But after 2009, he led the Bobcats to a bowl game in all but one normal season since that point at a place that is not Power 5 level. So I think that's something to look at. I think when you also look at his tenure at Nebraska, by all metrics, by all means, and in all standard, he was a success. He had an overall record there at the time of his firing at 58-19. He never had a losing season. He won a Big 12 title in 1999. He had 3 finishes in the top 10. The Huskers also have not, when you look at it from that point on, from the time that he got exited from being at Nebraska, from that point on, Nebraska has not won a conference title or even had a top 10 finish since. So we all know that, Ohio is not Nebraska. We've come to agree with that at this point. So I just think when you look at it, he's what else has he done? In the last 10 years, he's also won 9 bowl games and had 4 bowl wins. So you do the math. Now, Here's another thing to look at. With Solich, he had 4 10-win seasons. That's a 60% out of 6 now, 4 out of 6. So that's a 66% win percentage over 10 wins. Since Solich, it's only been 4 10-win seasons out of 13. That's 30%. You do the math. You do the metrics on that. With Solich, it's a 9.6 wins per year, I'm sure Nebraska would be excited to have gotten 9-10 wins each season. The games in Memorial Stadium would have been significantly more exciting, so to speak. So since Solich has left in 2017, look at how close it was. In 2017, there was a win average of 8.3 wins per year, but that has dropped by double since 2017 to barely at 4 or 5. So do the math on that. I think, a finishing in the top 20, a number 2 ranking in the top 20, a number 7, then go unranked in a number 22. That's in 6 years. Come on, somebody. I don't even have to speak on it no more.
Yeah, I mean, and for context, for people that maybe didn't live throughout the Solich era, you have to remember that in 1998, when he went 9-4, that was crazy. Nebraska never lost 4 games. They finished in the top 20. That's not where Nebraska belonged. Nebraska belongs in the top 10 is where we were thinking. It's his first year. So that was kind of a mark against him. First year, whatever. And as it went on, it became, he was very reliant on Eric Crouch. And it seemed like the recruiting wasn't keeping up with the Osborne days. So he's basically the guy that replaced the legend, and that's who he was being compared to, which ultimately led to his downfall because in 2002, not 2003, they gave him another chance after 2002. He went 7-7. Sacrilegious at Nebraska. You could not. There's no way you could go 7-7, finish 500.
Blasphemy at Nebraska. Yeah. Blasphemy.
So that's pretty much what got him fired. Then the next year they did go 10-3, a record Nebraska, or a winning percentage Nebraska has not met since.
They were 9-3 with Solich. They let him go, and then Bo Pelini took over and won that extra game and got him 10.
Yeah, that is correct. And so as you kind of play along here too, I think that the fun part about it is he probably would have kept Bo Pelini around. Remember, Nebraska had the 1 year with Bo Pelini. He was somewhat of maybe a finalist for the job, but didn't seem like he had enough experience. We just kind of liked the fact that he led Nebraska to the Alamo Bowl win over Michigan State in Solich's absence. But I think you would have probably had 4 or 5, 6 more years of Pelini, and this would be really good, like prime defensive coordinator Pelini. And he was really good at it. This is not, really LSU there at the end.
Well, you saw that, Bach, in his return. When he came, the defense was ranked 55th when he arrived, and that dropped immediately in that next year to 11th.
Yeah. I could see something like a maybe not quite. I don't know how many titles he'd win as far as the conference goes. It's hard to envision the change over to the Big Ten. How would he? I think maybe it could work out a little bit there. It
would have got good running. I think the running part of it would have. He would have been able to fare. Yeah, it would have translated. Yeah. He obviously would have made the adaptions on the style of play, and maybe 3 wides, 4 wides with a strong tight end. I think it would have been good, very tight end strong. He's been around on good tight ends with Johnny Mitchell's, and we can go on down that line. But so I think you could have seen that translation. It probably would have been a better translation for him to the Big Ten than it probably was for the Big 12, I think, because the Big 12 was wide open. It was Texas Tech. It was run and gun. It was fun. Everything was blown out.
A lot of yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too. I think that ultimately, as I kind of think about it, I think that Frank Solich could have had a very Kirk Ferentz-like tenure at Nebraska. Yeah. Kirk's been there since 99. Obviously, Frank was let go a few years later after that. Again, I don't know if he'd win. I think Kirk has like 3 Big Ten titles early on in there. I don't know if he would have done that. Maybe would have won 2 or 3. Maybe would have won 2. Who knows? But he would have had Nebraska, I think, a lot more consistent over the years. But of course, that's not what Nebraska was looking for around that time. They were looking for titles,
championships,
and of course that hasn't played out either. Let's go to the Sartor Hamann text line 424645685. I know some of you guys would have an opinion here. Mark says Frank would have pulled a Pelini style record over the years with 1 to 2 Big Ten championships, maybe 1 BCS game. I missed him and went to Kansas game a few years ago to say hi. Shook hands at halftime with him. He was gracious and appreciative. We came down in our Husker gear to see him. Free drinks at the bars and tailgates all day, by the way. Asked why we were there. We would simply say we missed you. Very cool. That's a good fan. And Frank is is a great guy by all indications, so that would be pretty cool. Brian says just add 10% winning percentage to our record, but that's no small. 10% would be helpful, but maybe not quite as high on Frank over the years. Phase of 5 times definitely wants a different situation to kind of be played out. What if Tom had coached another 10 years? That certainly would have been a completely different story, and who knows, maybe another national title in there. I think the 99 team maybe under Tom would have won one. And then Ben says, if Soldier stays and we get good and regularly appearing in the winning Big 12 championships, to even go to the Big 10. So you can kind of throw that out there as well. Maybe that would be something that might not have happened. Could have changed the course of history. But there is a lot of money in the Big 10, as pointing out. And that's turned out good for Nebraska. I don't know if you'd want to. You might have to ride the rocky wave of the Big 12 if you stuck there, even to this day, where they're going to add 4 more teams, Texas and Oklahoma leaving. Be kind of strange, but
felt like the Goonies. Hey, listen, the Big 12 right now is like the Goonies. Rocky Road.
That's right. Who knows what's coming up next?
Sloth on the Goonies. Yeah, it's Rocky right now, baby.
Oh, that's a fun exercise. I always like going back in the past and kind of thinking, but since Frank was honored, and he's a guy that I think everybody pretty much respects, understood that maybe things weren't heading in the greatest direction, and also understanding that Nebraska has not headed in the right direction since then. You kind of have to go through your own thoughts about what would have happened. But again, I think maybe something similar to Kirk Ferentz there. Not always championship driven, not always in the hunt even, but certainly from what we've seen at Frank over there at Ohio, would have been able to adjust to the time changes and all the things that were going on in college football over the years. So that's kind of a cool little exercise we had. How about a cool game show that we do every day? Your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. It is time for Shootout with Strick. You just have to beat Strick in our game show. It's either or type of questions till the final question, which is the money ball, worth 2 points, like a 3-point shootout. Give us a call right now, 402-464-5685. The first one to do so will claim their spot and have their chance at $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. That's coming up next year on The Block.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on.
Very warm and windy today. Could be near record highs as we'll top out at 86 with south winds eventually gusting over 35. But we'll also be watching for the threat of severe thunderstorms towards this evening into tonight. Overnight, we drop to a low of 34. Windy and much cooler tomorrow. Highs in the low 50s. Northwest winds gusting over 30. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Work, laundry, dishes. I was exhausted. I needed a vacation, but finding a way to pay for it, not so easy. Then I found it, a research study at Solarion. I searched the studies and found a perfect match for me. It was so easy. I earned cash for the study and booked that vacation. Plus, I made an impact on medical research. Find a study and sign up today at helpresearch.com.
You should consider the risks of the research before you agree to participate.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Springtime is here, and it's time to get to work on outdoor projects. Deck City is a great place to start as Lincoln's local source for everything decks. Deck City has everything you need to build the deck of your dreams, from treated lumber to Westbury aluminum railings and TimberTech composite decking. Call them today to schedule an appointment at 402-480-6671. Go online at deckcityne.com or visit their new location just north of 33rd and Cornhusker Highway.
John Henry's Plumbing, heating and air.
When it comes to your home or business, we know you have options, and that's why John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning gives you just that. Options. We have plumbing, heating, and cooling memberships to serve all of your residential and commercial needs. We want to ensure you, your family, and your business are safe. Visit our website, jhlincoln.com, to find out more or call us at
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
Spring is on its way. Are you prepared to keep the grass greener on your side? Blades Lawn and Landscape is awaiting your call if you're looking to change services for your home owners association or anything else for residential or commercial jobs. Transform your yard into a private oasis with the professional services offered by Blades Lawn and Landscape. Call them today at 402-730-6320 or go to bladeslcc.com to schedule a free estimate on commercial or residential lawn services. Blades Lawn and Landscape.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
An Empire Fence is an investment in your home. This year, use your tax return to make that investment. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and security while improving the appearance of your home. Visit empire-fence.com to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home. With your tax return on the way, schedule your project now. Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence.
It's time to play Shootout with Strick. Call now, 464-5685, to take your shot against Eric Strickland. Shootout with Strick. Brought to you by Buffalo Wings and Rings.
Time to play the game!
It is all about the game here on the block. It is time to play the game. It is time to play Shootout with Strick here. Give us a call, 402-464-5685 for your chance to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. Today's topic is top college football running backs. So we went with the list earlier. So if you've been listening all day, you might some of these names you might remember, but a lot of it's just kind of figuring out which college and pro teams these guys played for. So it's a very fun Shootout with Strick today. We'll see how well Strick does. But give us a call, 402-464-5685. First one in line will have the opportunity to win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings. Strick is warming
I'm
up.
the man of the people. I'm the man of the people.
Yes. Already 1-0 on the week, going for an undefeated week here is his goal, trying to get to 2-0 as we do have a caller now here on the Honda of Lincoln hotline, 402-464-5685. Strick, how do you feel?
Bach, I remember now. If I go 3 for 3 or I think 4 out of 5,
yeah,
it's the song, "The Champ Is Here." That's what it was. I remember. You gotta get that one for Stricky if I win these. Yeah, let's go, baby.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I gotta line it up. I'm writing that down so I don't forget. We have Tom. Is that right? Yep. I think it's Tom. Tom, are you there?
I'm here.
All right, Tom. Are you ready? How well do you know college football running backs? You've been watching enough college football over the years?
Oh, I have, yeah.
All right. Well, at least it's something that you feel pretty confident in. And we could have a high-scoring game here, but we'll start with Strick. Strick, are you ready to go?
Let's get it.
All right. We will go in 3, 2, and 1. This Purdue bruiser went on to be an All-Pro for the Bucks. Mike Allstott or Eric Brett?
Allstott.
That's correct. This former Oklahoma running back as the last Minnesota Vikings player to win the MVP, Adrian Peterson or Darren McFadden?
Adrian Peterson.
That's correct. Who was the last Ohio State running back to win the Heisman? Eddie George or Archie Griffin?
Eddie George.
That is correct. Who is Wisconsin's all-time leading rusher? Monty Ball or Ron Dane?
Monty Ball.
It's actually Ron Dane. This TCU back still holds the NFL record for most rushing touchdowns in a season.
LaDainian Tomlinson.
That is correct. That gives you 5 points with the money ball.
I knew it was Ron Dane.
You just missed out on 1, leaving the door open for Tom to get the win. Tom, are you ready? You're going to have to get near a perfect score.
Wow, we'll do it.
All right, let's give it a shot. We'll go in 3, 2, and 1. This Miami back is now in the Indianapolis Colts Ring of Honor. Edgerrin James or Frank Gore? Say it again.
James?
James, yeah. This Colorado running back now coaches for the Chiefs, Floyd Little or Eric Bieniemy?
Bieniemy.
That is correct. This running back finished third, second, and first in the Heisman voting at Georgia. Todd Gurley or Herschel Walker?
Herschel Walker.
That's correct. This USC running back recently gave up the Heisman Trophy. Reggie Bush or Ricky Williams?
Reggie Bush.
Okay, and this Wisconsin running back ran for their school record 408 yards against Nebraska in 2014. Oh.
Can't think of his name.
Oh, you couldn't think of his name. Put on the spot. You did perfect up until that point, but unfortunately, time has run out. You finished with 4 points. A valiant effort, but Strix 5 is going to win it today. Thank you for calling in and playing, Tom. You played a very good game. It ended up being Melvin Gordon was the name. I'm sure he knew it. Just
Tiger uppercut.
It was a Wisconsin running back that stumped both of you.
Yeah, man. Got me. I knew it too. I just couldn't pull the trigger.
Yeah. Well, Tom, go ahead and hang up, and you as well as anybody else can win because Strick plays on behalf of the people. Therefore, caller number 3 right now, 402-464-5685 will win $15 to Buffalo Wings and Rings on behalf of Strick, who is now 2-0 for the week. I'll have to write that down. 2-0. So,
you remember what this record gonna be? I'm on fire, man. I'm going for the gusto this week. I'm trying to be like the women's softball team. I'm trying to knock people out the box.
I think they put up too many runs against Iowa earlier, so they called the game. It's part of a doubleheader, but Nebraska softball now has 14 straight wins. So congratulations to them. Let's go to the tiebreaker. It was very close to needing the tiebreaker there. How many total touchdowns did the great Mike Rozier score in his career at Nebraska? Carry the one.
41.
Hey, that's a heck of a guess. 51 touchdowns for Mike Rozier. Always one of the best dressed at the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
Without a doubt. So 51 touchdowns, that's a lot. And again, honored today by being named the number 8 all-time running back in college football over the last 60 years by ESPN. A list that probably...
Was Roger Craig on that list?
A few. Roger Craig was not on that list. Lawrence Phillips not on the list. Amir Abdullah not on the list. Other people.
Yeah, Amir, I can see Amir, but okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of people a lot of upset fans, which usually those lists, that's kind of what they're meant to be there, is to create some controversy and some arguments. But again, Lawrence Phillips seems like an oversight that
major.
Major oversight.
It's the same. It's very similar to the Barry Bonds situation, right? Once the Pete Rose situation, once you get that Mar on your list, it makes it really tough to kind of get back in on the minds of the people.
Yeah,
unfortunate.
Because
did we say it at the same time?
Yeah.
we on fire today, Bach. On the block.
Unfortunately, they didn't include those guys. But again, I think if you ask like Nebraska football fans in general, they would put Phillips right up there with Rozier. If not above him. So, that kind of tells you about people that watched it closely. I think the Mount Rushmore of running backs at Nebraska seems to be pretty clear between Lawrence Phillips, Mike Rozier, Amon Green, and Amir Abdullah. There's some other guys that can fight maybe for that 4th spot or certainly for the 5th and 6th. You can debate there, but that seems to be as we've done this over the years, kind of the response that I've gathered, and
what do you say on the text line? What do the people say? Since I'm for the people to win the chicken, I want to know what the people got to say on the Sutter Heyman text line at 402-464-5685. Who is your Mount Rushmore at Nebraska as far as running back you?
Yeah. So let us know if you have any other names that you would throw out there. Maybe over Amir or Amon or any of those guys. So very interesting. Maybe you wouldn't include Lawrence yourself. Maybe some of you would put a strike up against his name too for what transpired here. But either case,
do you throw Rex Burkhead in there?
Rex Burkhead would be a name. I always liked Roy Halu out of that group.
Hey.
But then you start to go with the Keith Jones, the Jarvis Redwines. I mean, you got a lot of arguments there.
Yeah, Calvin Jones as well.
Yeah, Calvin Jones. A lot of arguments there. That's why it's fun though to debate that stuff. I just feel like the top 4 are pretty secure. But that'll wrap it up for this hour. Of course, we got a whole nother hour of On the Block before we're done here. A lot of fun stuff to talk about. A little bit of post-spring game position ranking type of stuff. And then we can get into the NBA as well, previewing the play-in games tonight. Also, the Lakers coaching job is open, which is always great because you hear just about every rumor out there. So we'll talk about that next, coming up here on The Block.
Happy Hour with Nick Sainert and Enrique Alvarez Clary.
The voice of Husker softball, Nate Rohr.
Ronda Revelle, especially when she has a good power hitter like Billy Andrews, she tends to hit him a little higher in the lineup. And we saw this some last year with Tristan Edwards. Teams were so locked in on pitching around her. Ronda Revelle said, okay, well, if you're going to pitch around her, then you're going to start that first inning, beat off base runner. And also, Billy Andrews is a great athlete.
Weekdays from 2 to 3 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
At first, I was really nervous and intimidated to buy a ring. I wasn't sure what I was getting into.
My experience at Starter Heyman was very easy. I felt like I walked out of Starter Heyman with the ring that was going to make her go wow and say yes.
I love my ring. It is so beautiful.
I absolutely love my ring. I get compliments on it all the time. I always tell them Starter Heyman.
Yeah, we would definitely recommend Starter Heyman.
Yeah, it was great. We're
definitely coming back.
Sure.
Sauter Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island. SauterHeyman.com.
Mike Schaefer here for Trek CBD. Springtime is here, and that means you're outside more in nice weather and maybe even having garage parties with neighbors. The drink of this spring and summer isn't your typical seltzer. It's drinkable Delta 8. Yep, Trek CBD has drinkable Delta 8 seltzers with mango and lime flavors for 4-packs and 12-packs, coming in a variety of mango, watermelon, lime, and berry. They also have hemp-derived Delta 9 syrups to put in your beverages, and as always, the excellent Delta 8 gummies. Trek CBD, CBD done right.
Join us at Cactus by Venue for our new America's Favorites menu. We're keeping your favorite dips and tacos and adding brand new dishes, including delicious steaks, burgers, pastas, and more. Focusing on vibrant casual dining using a blend of fresh ingredients prepared from scratch. Located at 56 and Highway 2 in the Edgewood Shopping Center, see the whole menu online at cactusbyvenue.com and order yours to go at venuedelivered.com. Cactus by Venue, America's Favorites.
Are you worried about storm damage causing issues with your basement? F Foundation Repair fixes basements with supreme waterproofing and exact concrete leveling for residential or commercial clients. They service wet basements, leaky walls, damp crawl spaces, bowing or cracked bricks or drywall, and more. Whether you're in Southeast Nebraska, the Tri-Cities area, or Northeast Kansas, they'll easily make the trip to you. Get a free evaluation today by visiting WeFixBasements.com or call 402-804-1024. F Foundation Repair. We fix basements.
This is Dan Friedman. Between 2010 and 2019, distracted driving caused more than 40,000 car crashes in Nebraska, resulting in over 14,000 severe injuries and deaths. Please keep your eyes on the road. If you have a smartphone, put it away while you're behind the wheel. It will help keep our community safe and secure. This message is brought to you by Friedman Law Offices, helping injured people. It's what we do. It's all we do. Find us at friedmanlaw.com today.
Working at Continental in Lincoln isn't a job, it's a career. And right now they've raised wages again and they're hiring for production operators at $22.07 per hour and other select jobs starting at $23.77 per hour, with wages growing up to $29.71 per hour. Continental also has salaried jobs available and great benefits, plus medical and prescription costs at very low premiums. Dental, vision, and life insurance are offered at no premium cost to the associates. To learn more or to apply, go to continental-jobs.com with keyword Lincoln. Come work at Continental today.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauce and stop. But you just brought a whole groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet. KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is On the Block with Strick and Bach. Nebraska Basketball Hall of Famer and 9-year NBA vet, Eric Strickland.
Strickland for three! You're going to go out of here as the Big 8 tournament champion.
93.7 The Ticket veteran and Bill Callahan Fan Club president, Jake Bakoven.
I love Billy.
Coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios in the heart of Lincoln, America. On air and online at theticketfm.com. Sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. This is On the Block with Strick and Bob. Hold up.
Welcome back to On the Block for the second hour, where you can find us right here on the block with Strick and Bach every day from 4 to 6. We thank you for joining us as always. We thank you for our listeners that are tapping in both on the text line, on the Honda Lincoln hotline. Whenever you get a chance to pop in, we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your voice. We thank you continuously for loving on us at Facebook, for your comments. Also on YouTube. At 93.7 The Ticket on the block. You can find us great shows all throughout on 93.7 The Ticket FM. And also you can tap in on the app. So we're on the second half. Obviously, a lot of spring games have happened. A lot of universities and colleges have got out there on the field. They did it in different formats. Some got after it 1 against 2. Some got after it 1-2 against 3 and 4. Some blasted, some got some tough competition, and they got a chance to see what's going on with their programs. And so when we look at the Big Ten, we want to be able to kind of assess what post-spring game rankings would look like as you look down the board and find out between the East and the West and what teams are emerging, what you saw from different teams out there over the spring games, if you had an opportunity to look at them. And then we'll also discuss a little topic as how do you feel about transferring within conference? Do you think that's something that should be restricted or forbidden, looked down upon, frowned upon? Or do you think it's something that just should not matter, being that it's the wild, wild west of the transfer portal? So, Bach, as we look at it, there's some ways I would view it. I want to see how you look at it. But what's your perspective coming out of the post-spring game? What's your assessment looking at the universities, and how do you, rank them or look at them based on the successes of their spring games?
Well, I think Nebraska, obviously, it left a little bit of something to be decided there. And, of course, a lot of teams have their spring games out in front of them. Nebraska did their spring game there, a little bit early to get that turf pulled, which is kind of funny. I think that was Parker Gabriel that went through the numbers there. I think I wrote them down, hopefully somewhere, where Nebraska even went with Nebraska's record on the turf wasn't very good, especially over this season. If you did like beyond Nebraska's actually on the turf, like on the field, not just overall record was bad, under 500 for the 9 years that it's been there. And then like actually with the turf that they're taking out, at home, it was just barely over 500. But in any case, sad to see the two-tone turf go for me. But as I look at Nebraska, I just wonder if overall you viewed that as a positive spring. I know as we're close, as we're in it, it maybe looked like you're overvaluing it or this or that, or kind of thinking too much about it. But as I look at it, I don't think that it's necessarily good news that Nebraska was forced to do what they had to do because of some depth issues. So, they definitely have some work to do in the portal. O'Shawn Mathis would go a long way for that defensive line. But if he chooses Texas, I hope they have some backup plans in place, and certainly they're not going to be the top names there in the defensive line. But I think that the defensive line obviously needs a little bit more depth there. I've also heard inside linebacker could use a little bit of depth. So maybe some additions to the transfer portal could help out Nebraska here. But I'll tell you what, I did come out of the spring game. I know that it's tough to tell too much about what's going on, but just the running back rumors that we heard, right? And then you go out in there and watch it on the field, and it seemed like they were running Anthony Grant and Jacques Yant as kind of the 1 and 2s. And I think Ramir Johnson, for what he's maybe lacks as far as, the top end speed or, whatever it may be, breaking tackles, whatever it may be, that kind of holds him back from that all Big Ten discussion. I thought he was a solid Big Ten running back. And if he's moved down to number 3 on the depth chart, I think that the running back position for Nebraska looks really good. That, and I know they need some depth there at linebacker. I don't want to get too excited about what Gary Nelson did against Nebraska's backup tackles, because the starting tackles last year were among the worst in the Power 5. So you can't get too excited about it. But if I'm looking at 2 positions I feel pretty strongly about for Nebraska, that makes me feel better about overall they're standing in the conference, it'd be running back and linebacker, I think, look to be the strength of the team to me.
Yeah, I think I was pretty impressed. I mean, I like your assessment as I look at it, but I also would like to say that I was impressed by the secondary. I thought that their secondary held up pretty good early on in the spring game. I like the way I was really trying to make sure that there wasn't going to be a whole bunch of mix-ups and getting crossed up and just blown coverages. And I thought for the most part, I was liking they were getting their hands on balls. They were getting in. They were there. There wasn't a whole bunch of separation. But the quarterbacks had to make some pretty good throws to drop them in there. So I like that part of it as well. And I think the defense is going to get a little bit more, slick or a little bit more sexy to it, and there's going to be some other things that are going to be thrown in, some zone blitzes, some different issues. I think it was pretty base as the way that they were doing it. I don't think they were throwing anything out there that teams can be able to grasp or anything from as far as scouting. So, but I like that part of it. I also would say that I was impressed with definitely the running backs, the 2, Anthony Grant and Jaquez Yant. They look, Anthony's cutback ability, his vision, his ability to see a hole where there was times where it looked like it was going to the right. He had a nice little jump cut, broke it back, and then boom, he turned on the jets and was able to get some separation in the touch part of the game. So that means, he may have got a little touch, but, there was not much touching going on as he broke loose. So I thought that was pretty good. And I actually, although Smothers, I don't want to judge him on one game. I think that for the most part he's been doing well. Maybe the moment of the game and the intensity of it or the adrenaline of it got to him a little bit. Struggled, but I'm glad to see that there's a little bit more depth there. Harburg looked solid, and Masker. Yes, they're playing against the bottom half of the team, but I thought for the most part they looked solid. So definitely Chubba Purdy looked solid in some areas. I love his escapability and his ability to run if needed and necessary. Got some good touch on his passes as well. So that's the way I would look at it. I definitely would have liked to see more out of the receiving core, being that there's supposed to be also some good challenges in there and some fighting in there for position, and a little bit more out of Trey Palmer, but no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the most disappointing parts about it, is you wanted to see those skill position players at least run a deep route, and they really didn't try. They were very basic, so that kind of hurt them there. But at the same time, you didn't see much separation, which is good, like you said, for the secondary. And for what it's worth, the secondary was just kind of like peppering in guys. Of course, we saw Tommy Hill out there, but in those different guys, Newsome. But it wasn't like that. I watched that game and thought, okay, that's the starting secondary. I think they still got some things to figure out there. But that being said, I thought they played pretty well against the wide receivers. I just would have loved to see more. It was kind of weird. You didn't necessarily see everybody out there, obviously, that they're going to have this upcoming year. Garcia Castaneda wasn't out there. I don't believe Oliver Martin was out there. Omar Manning was out there almost with like every unit, which was kind of weird and didn't really flash too much. Trey Palmer, who's supposed to be their big time playmaker, I would have loved to see at least a flash of something there. So I think, you don't want to overcomplicate things or overvalue what you see in the spring game, but it didn't provide you too much enthusiasm as far as the playmakers go, especially early on there at offense. But again, you kind of wonder what's the battle they're doing there. Are they running a lot of base stuff that the defense has been covering and kind of knows all about?
You can make simple reads. Yeah, you can make simple reads on route patterns. Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you're very base in your stuff, you don't have any patterns that, like, for example, you run a flow right, you run all patterns outs and and corners and posts, and then you slip a tight end out the backside. You're not going to run stuff like that. You don't want nobody to see that
Right.
formation with those type of route patterns, because that's something, if you have a flow pattern with a nice little play action, everything flowing right, you got a nice throwback. You don't want to show that. You want to just show basic patterns, digs, crossing routes, posts, 5 and in, 10 and in, 5 and 10 and out. You saw that stuff. That's basically what, and for a defensive back, those are simple reads and simple read and react stuff. So.
Well, it's also interesting as far as the quarterback battle goes, because I think there's very few depth chart things that you can walk away from that game going, I've changed my mind on this, or I think, I thought this going into the game, and now I have a completely different idea. Yeah. However, I do, I think at the quarterback position going into that game, I thought Logan is your number 2. He's, I can't wait to see what he does coming off that Iowa game. Has he taken his game up a notch? And obviously he struggled. Meanwhile, Chubba Purdy, 1 week into practice, just looks the part. I mean, that's why, he was at one time highly regarded and went to Florida State. Obviously, his brother did pretty darn well there at Iowa State. That doesn't have much to do with him, I suppose. But either way, he had the wheels. He made probably the 2 most impressive passes in the game. And I honestly do walk away from that game being a little bit higher on Chubba Purdy than I do Logan Smothers, which was, I guess, the opposite going into that game.
Yeah, I would vision the same thing. I don't think Logan showed me enough to make me feel confident that he could fall into that second spot. I saw him falling, maybe a spot or 2, definitely. But again, that's one eye that I was able to get on him, because other writers, other people in the sporting arena have said that Logan has been looking good in practice. So.
Yeah. It could have been a bad day for him.
Could have been a bad day.
Yeah. But in a similar thing to the running backs, I suppose, when we're talking about Ramir Johnson, if Logan Smothers is indeed your 3rd best quarterback, that actually should put you in a pretty comfortable situation, because I know it's almost, but you almost won a game and had a game plan with Logan Smothers against a pretty staunch Iowa defense that, almost won a Big Ten game last year. So if that's your 3rd stringer, that wouldn't be the worst. I just wonder too about, there's a lot of talk about him, and maybe it's not fair, but that's the position you play. And when you commit to player at Nebraska, you're going to get talk about you. You just kind of wonder where his standing is at if he does fall in the depth chart a little bit, because they clearly went to the portal to find a starter over him. They clearly brought in 2 guys. And so we always kind of wondered. And now if both those guys jump him in the depth chart, you wonder where his place is, or does he want to stay and fight it out? We've seen guys do that in the past, and to success, and then to some, at least, who knows what his goals are. Maybe his goals are to graduate more than anything, right? So maybe he could stick around at Nebraska that way. But I do think, having seen him play against Iowa, that there is somewhere in the nation that he could probably fight for a starting job, if not Nebraska. So, it's just kind of interesting to see, as this plays out. Obviously, they're not going to list out a depth chart, but we are going to see probably some guys leave the team over the offseason, some additions in the portal. The portal's year-long. You have to remember that's going to keep going. There's always some buzz going around, and I'm fascinated to see. He continues to be the guy, and it's not like it's not like you're overreading into it, right? I mean, the situation is just kind of what it is. He started a game, and they brought 2 guys in over him. And now, then the speculation goes to where you can make, okay, I saw one practice, I saw one spring game, and then try to make your own evaluation. But it's not a private situation. It's a very public look that he started a game. You didn't believe in him for the Purdue game. That was very obvious, because Adrian threw 4 picks, and they still went with Adrian. And then, now you've recruited over him in 2 spots. So I'm just fascinated to see. I think he's one of the most intriguing Huskers on the roster.
I think one of the things, as I look at this whole thing, Logan is a tremendous athlete, period. Take out the QB, just take out the quarterback position, and just look at him in his package and what he brings to the field. I think he's an athlete. If I'm him and I want to stay a Husker, I maybe start, considering other options. Now, I personally don't think he'd be a pro quarterback. I think he'd probably want to assess and look at the long term of whether he wants to play in the NFL or whatever he wants to do. I just don't think he has the mechanics as I saw some of his throws, square feet, not stepping through. He's got great running, abilities. Definitely, if you're running, zone reads and different things like that, he's very good at that. But I just don't see the consistency in him making throws and so forth and so on. So I think he may want to consider another option, if that's something that he would want to do, or it's very possible that he may be one that jumps into the transfer portal, but we don't know. We'll see. We'll see how he sustains. He seems to be a very strong kid mentally. And so that's good to see as far as staying in the fight. I mean, most people these days are running for the high hills for the next place that they think they can get it done. And that's a testament to him. I just want to, continue to bring light to that's a huge testament to him that he stayed the course thus far, even knowing what they brought in. I'm the same thing, man. Look, I've seen it happen to me many a times where they bring, they'll bring Tony Delkin in, or they'll bring, these guards in after I didn't put in a whole season of basically helping you to get to this level. And now all of a sudden we get to the playoffs and you want to throw somebody else in the mix. So I've seen it happen tremendous amount of times. And at the end of the day, you want to stay in the fight? Are you going to, knuckle up, or are you going to run for the high heels? And that's what I'm hoping. He just really does a good assessment. Talking at another level, man, what do you think about transferring amongst, the conferences? I personally don't mind if you want to go and compete. I know in the past it used to be something where you used to get maybe 2 years where you couldn't do it in conference. So most people,
or they just block you altogether.
Yeah, but now I think there could be some things that could be put in to make it to where you just can't be going in conference and just thinking you can shift and get it done. So how do you assess that? How do you decide on what the right deal is, or the right idea for that is, and whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know personally, but how do you view it? 402-464-5685. How do you see in conference transferring and eligibility just being able to pop up in 1 year? Do you think that's something that would be relevant, or do you think that's something that should be barred, or how do you view it? We'd love to hear from you at 402-464-5685. Bach, tell me your thoughts on in conference transferring.
Yeah, it's interesting. It happened today twice. Vanderbilt offensive lineman Tyler Steen transferred to Alabama. Alabama's got 3, I believe, in conference transfers now out of the portal. So interesting. And don't ever let Nick Saban tell you the portal's ruining college football or anything like that, because he is at least playing along. Also, Maryland defensive end and highly regarded recruit Demoyne Robinson transferred to Penn State. So that's within conference as well. A little bit of rivalry there. It's interesting. And that's, I think ultimately in years past, it was basically if we've got your team on our schedule, even if it was a non-con team, they would block you from going there. As the years have gone by and it becomes kind of more pro player, student athlete, rather than guarding the adults making money in it, the institutions about it. I've become more open to it. In fact, I embrace it. I think it will be fun when I think about a Maryland guy transferring to Penn State. A little bit of extra juice on that game. It obviously within the transfer portal altogether, it makes team building very difficult. But at the same time, I think within conference, to me, it just adds a little bit. If you're going to allow these transfers to happen this one time, don't take away any time type of thing. I don't necessarily think that it should be up to the school to where you're going. You're leaving that school. Yes, you made the commitment. The old timers might be kind of frustrated about the way that the times have changed, but along with those times changing, I think you got to continue to be pro student athlete. And a lot of these guys, if you're transferring within conference, it's because it's your best option regionally. Maybe you committed, maybe you played at Missouri or whatever, you transfer. That's not a good example because regionally Missouri's not too close to the Southeast, I suppose. But if you transfer to, out in the Pac-12, that's probably better. Even Southeast, you could probably go to the ACC, but out in the Pac-12, if you commit to Washington and then they tell you can't play anywhere else in the Power 5 in the Pac-12, you got to transfer halfway across the country to find a spot, rather than, then none of your family can visit it, unless you want to, you could do Oregon State, Northern California type of schools if you aren't allowed to transfer in within conference. So I think along with the pro student athlete rules that we've been following and opening up to, I think that this is a great for college football. And again, I can't wait till you have some pretty high profile guys make that switch, because it puts a little bit more on the game for rivalry week.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, again, I think it's something that does put a little bit more spice into that pot. When you're looking at, I just came out. So I just imagine, right, if Adrian Martinez had transferred to Wisconsin or something, or
Iowa would be
or to Iowa. Oh, just think of the juice and just think of the inspiration at the defensive ends and all the line. I could see that. I could see that stirring the pot of rivalry major when high-profile guys break camp and dip on you and go do something else. Even Rondell Robinson, if Rondell Robinson would have dipped over and went to Michigan State or something, I think it would have been intense. So those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? 402-464-5685 on the Sutter Heyman text line. Did anybody pop in with some good stuff? Or
Drumstick says players should have to sit out 1 year if it's in conference. And again, that's maybe more of an older school type of take on it compared to what it is nowadays. But I could see that too. I understand the frustration with it. I just think that if our goal is not to limit the guys, if you're going to have this rule where you don't have to sit out a year, I don't know why you would limit it on the choices that they can make where they go. Ultimately, I think if you want to go to college somewhere and you are, I used to kind of think if you can go to college wherever you want. You're not going to, if you want to transfer from Nebraska to Iowa, you can do it. You just might not be able to play football. You can go to school wherever you want. So I didn't feel too bad for them. But, when you kind of think about it, they're very, very highly regarded. People are going after them. They're, especially the high profile transfers. I just, it comes down to opinion. So that's fair if you think it should be 1 year. I personally think that the players should get to decide where they play and not have to sit out that year. I love that new rule.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're up against it right now. We got to take a little break here on the block. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about the Lakers. They let Frank Vogel go. Is it Westbrook that won the deal, or was Frank Vogel just happy to get out of L.A.? We'll come back and talk about it on the block right after this.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Very warm and windy today. Could be near record highs as we'll top out at 86 with south winds eventually gusting over 35. But we'll also be watching for the threat of severe thunderstorms towards this evening into tonight. Overnight, we drop to a low of 34. Windy and much cooler tomorrow. Highs in the low 50s. Northwest winds gusting over 30. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Every time the back door closes, it squeaks and reminds me of how I used to go out back for a cigarette 2-3 times a day when I was stressed, when I was hungry, when I was bored. But then I think of how the stale taste lingered in my mouth, and I reach into my purse and pop a stick of gum. And the craving is gone.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 330 North 48th Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Are you worried about storm damage causing issues with your basement? F Foundation Repair fixes basements with supreme waterproofing and exact concrete leveling for residential or commercial clients. They service wet basements, leaky walls, damp crawl spaces, bowing or cracked bricks or drywall, and more. Whether you're in Southeast Nebraska, the Tri-Cities area, or Northeast Kansas, they'll easily make the trip to you. Get a free evaluation today by visiting WeFixBasements.com or call 402-804-1024. F Foundation Repair. We fix basements.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair.
I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Work, laundry, dishes. I was exhausted. I needed a vacation. But finding a way to pay for it, not so easy. Then I found it. A research study at Solarion. I searched the studies and found a perfect match for me. It was so easy. I earned cash for the study and booked that vacation. Plus, I made an impact on medical research. Find a study and sign up today at helpresearch.com.
You should consider the risks of the research before you agree to participate.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batstorats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Hello, I'm Charlie Stone, back with the latest news from Honda of Lincoln. Joining me now is the general manager, Andy Goodyear. Hey, Andy, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Charlie.
Hey, Andy, with spring right around the corner, how is your supply of new Hondas and pre-owned vehicles?
Really good, Charlie. As I've said before, when you drive by our lot, you don't see what you're looking for, just remember we have hundreds of new Hondas arriving soon, with Honda continuing to offer 0.9% APR financing to qualified buyers. Plus, we have over 125 pre-owned vehicles in stock and ready for immediate delivery.
That's great, Andy. Any more great news?
There is, Charlie. Honda just announced financing from 0.99% APR on certified pre-owned Hondas for qualified buyers.
So come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff at brokersinsurancenE.com.
Yo, it's the captain, Rashawn Jackson. Join me this Wednesday at Wingstop at 50th and O Street from 11 to 2 for Husker Sports Talk and, most importantly, wings. That's Wednesday at Wingstop at 50th and O Street, the official sponsor of the captain. Order wings ahead at wingstop.com. See you there.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
We're back. We're back on the block. We're back on the block. On the block with Strick and Bach. 93.7 The Ticket. We're here every night, 4 to 6 Central Standard Time. Thank you for joining us once again. We're going to talk a little bit about the Lakers. The atrocity that was this year. The question seems to be, did Frank Vogel deserve the full credit of what happened there with the Los Angeles Lakers? Stricky don't think so, but hey, I listen, Bach. I still think Frank Vogel's a good coach. I do. I think what he did with the Indiana Pacers was tremendous. I think he's still a great coach. He's very good at defense. It's unfortunate that he ends up with a defensive crew that is just absolutely horrible. But before we get into that, we've got a call from Russ on the Honda Lincoln hotline. Russ, what's happening?
Hey, man, just at break at work and listening to you guys. I'm going to premise this phone call. I'm a 54-year-old Boston Celtics fan, Husker fan. And so I'm a little old school. I'm all for young kids, making their way in life. So I don't want this to sound like I'm some crotchety old dude. But I think there's something to be said to making a commitment to a place, working your butt off and earning a spot and staying there and seeing it through instead of I'm not getting my way, or, you know, I've got 4 stars but I'm not working as hard as the other guy and he's taking my place. So I'm taking my ball and I'm going somewhere else. You know, I know it's a different world and a different time, and I understand that, but I think these guys have to be held accountable and, you know, maybe give them a one-time transfer, man. And maybe that's what the rule is, but these guys that pick up and Mr. McCaffrey takes off and goes to one school and then another school. And, you know, it's you know, whatever. I think I know better. And, you know, a lot of times these kids just got to work through it and it'll be better for them when they get later in life. You know, so that's my opinion on that. As far as the Lakers go, I think it's hilarious. You know, LeBron James is built up to be this great player and his history and everything, but he's not accountable for a team that was 16 games underneath Gill and the other, the Unibrow and, you know, Russell. You know, those guys are all supposed to be great players for the Lakers, and they don't even qualify for the playoffs. And so let's throw the coach under the bus. And, you know, I'm just going to tell you right now, as far as I stand on Lakers players, I'd take James Worthy, I'd take Magic, any of those guys over LeBron James any day. And I don't think LeBron James, he could be Larry Bird's water boy as far as I'm concerned. Those guys know how to play basketball. Those guys made their teams better. LeBron is just a rich athlete that gets coddled, and every time anybody breathes on him, there's a foul. So of course he's going to score all these points. But as far as being a team player and being held accountable and playing when his team needs him, you know, no way. Like I said, he could be Larry Bird's water boy, Magic's water boy, Kareem's water boy, Bill Lambeer's water boy, you know, Isaiah Thomas's water boy. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not impressed with the guy. You know, Michael Jordan runs circles around him, and you know, that's my feeling. And it's hilarious that the Lakers are home at playoff time, and it's great to watch my Celtics, but it's not like it was back in the day. That was team basketball. That was guys staying on teams, playing out their careers, and you could learn to love a team. But you know, LeBron James, he could retire right now, and I wouldn't lose 1 minute sleep. And the Lakers, you guys just enjoy staying home. And guys, I know I'm ranting, but I appreciate you taking my call.
All right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the call.
Listen, Russ was on to something, because I want to speak to the aspect of old school, right? He basically alluded to old school in both parts of his conversation, dealing with the basketball side of it as well as the football side of it. I'm very old school in that mentality as well. There's many of opportunities where I could have shifted and wanted, you know, there were times late in my time at Nebraska that I wasn't feeling it and I wanted to go. I think it builds so much more character, integrity. I understand the frustrations that come with that. I think it also creates a correlation between the next level as far as in the NFL, and I understand that part of it, but I also understand the resilience that it creates in you to not give in. I mean, when things go bad with your boss, are you just gonna just continue to run from job to job to job to job to job to job to job? Or are you going to stay the course? I think the problem that happened with basketball in the NBA is it became so much more player driven, and it took the power out of the coach's hands. The coaches don't have the power. The coaches is basically a powerless part of the organization at this point. They just basically glorified minimal CEOs with no bark, no bite. They got bark but no bite. And so you basically have to coddle to the top branch of the guys, or they can get rid of you. And I think that's a horrible thing to set and for kids to look at. So when I look at LeBron James in the debate, it's a wrap. Don't even put him in the category of Michael Jordan. And don't even put him in the atmosphere of what Michael Jordan has done. Michael Jordan with, and didn't have the same big three type of things that LeBron has had over the last 4 trips to different teams. And he took his teams to the playoffs. Yes, they lost, but I don't care. You know, the teams he had to go through, the gauntlet he had to go through to break through. You know, there's only one season where, matter of fact, out of his whole career, 9 out of them he played all 82 games. And in 98, when they had the oldest team in the league, they won the championship with the oldest by actually older than the team that LeBron's on right now.
Yeah.
They won the championship. He played with a broken finger. Scottie Pippen played with a bad back. Doggone Ron Harper had bad knees, and Dennis Rodman was half of who he was, and they still won a championship. Get out of here. Miss me with that. It's a wrap. The debate is over. Lakers is trash, and I'm glad to see it. And that's the way I say it, and I'm done.
Yeah, I like it. I love to hear it again as a Celtics fan. We got Nate over here. Nate, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Strick, I agree with you. I'm going to go with Jordan. But from what I've seen on Twitter, this is normally kind of the argument for LeBron. And I'm just interested to hear what your kind of clap back against it is. It sounds like when LeBron's all said and done, he's going to lead Michael Jordan in basically every statistical category: points, rebounds, assists, all that. Do you have more emphasis on the rings? And then when you go to the ring side, a lot of the argument for LeBron is the teams that he's losing to in the finals are the Spurs, one of the greatest dynasties of all time, and then the Warriors, who probably are the greatest team ever assembled all time. So what's kind of your response to that?
Clap back. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Let's hear it.
All right. So here's the thing. Go back and look at the records of the Eastern Conference during that time of LeBron's run to getting to the championships of all that time. Again, this is not a durability contest. This is longevity contest, because by comparison, if Michael Jordan had played in the same 10 years in length as LeBron James had, there could be a significant difference in that outlook. So just let's just talk about that part. Yes, LeBron James has had great longevity, tenure, all of that, but it's not even about the rings. You've got 6 championships with no losses. You look at the gauntlet that Michael Jordan had to go through to get there, as opposed to what LeBron had to go through. Just look at the top tier teams at that point when LeBron was making his runs to the championship. Being in the Eastern Conference, there was only 2 or 3. Huh?
Put some respect on my Pacers. That Roy Hibbert and Paul George team was pretty good.
No, negative.
Maybe not as good as Larry Bird, Robert Parrish.
Yeah, no. You didn't have to go through that Piston gauntlet. You didn't have to go through that. Even the Cavs back then was not an easy win. Yes, listen, the East was a beast back in those days. So I just look at that standpoint. Yes, and he got there, but yeah, at the end of the day, he still took L. And you got beat twice with super teams by a non-super team, Dirk-led solely Dallas Mavericks team, and they came back and did it to you. That happened twice to you. So
Jason Terry was on that team.
Listen, I love Jason Terry, but Jason Terry wasn't Ray Allen. He wasn't Jason Terry wasn't Ray Allen. He wasn't Dwayne Wade, and he wasn't Chris Bosh.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like
Sean Marion, the hodgepodge. Yeah, Jason Kidd was on the way out the door.
Oh, that team was awesome, though, Strick. That team was so much fun.
Great team, fun to watch. Great. But Dirk carried them. Let's be real about it.
He did.
Here's again another argument that maybe could go along with it is that, and I agree with you too. We're all Michael Jordan people here.
Oh, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, but I think something that's kind of been interesting is probably for the last 8 years, you could argue that KD was the best player in the world. I don't think Michael Jordan had that toward the end of his career until Washington. What do you do with Washington?
But you still got to look at what he did. He still played. He still played 82 games at that age, and was he still could give you 40, huh?
Still averaged over 20 a game too.
Yeah,
and could still give you 40 if he wanted to some nights. If he was, and he did it having to get his knee drained dang near almost every night.
And he did it with Kwame Brown.
Kwame Brown. Oh my God! Don't even say that.
And an elderly, getting old Richard Hamilton.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Larry Hughes.
Yeah, man. They didn't have nothing down there. Teron Lue.
Yeah. T. Lue was there for a minute. Yeah, I like those teams. But in any case, thanks for chiming in there, Nate. Or you got one more?
Just one more question for you, Strick. Would you say that Pacers team with Roy Hibbert and Paul George is probably the most difficult team he faced in the Eastern Conference when he was with the Heat?
I would say so. But Roy Hibbert, he was solid, but he was solid. You know, he's definitely a good defensive presence. He was solid, but really Paul George was solo dolo. He didn't really, you know, he needed probably one more person on that team, and Paul was giving him work, you know, during that series. So yeah, I think he just needed one more person.
Don't forget they brought in Greg Oden off the streets to guard Roy Hibbert. That was awesome.
Yeah.
How about this, just for the Pacers' sake? That Paul George, Roy Hibbert team against the ones that Michael Jordan went against with Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson. Which Pacers team was better?
Oh, the Reggie Miller ones for sure.
Oh yeah,
Rick Smith.
I mean, they were tough. They were very tough defensively as well. Yeah, they had a lot of pieces on that team. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to always debate that, and I think
you forget about Rick Smits and
Duncan
and all them. Yeah, man, and then they had the Davis brothers at one point. They were tough, man. They were tough. They were solid.
Yeah, very fun, very cool stuff to run down there. The NBA, and of course, why don't we take a quick break? When we come back, we'll maybe focus a little bit more on the play-in games tonight because I'm jacked for those. I'm very excited. I know not everybody is, but I'm excited for the NBA playoffs. They're my favorite playoffs of all sports, to be honest with you. So we'll talk about the play-in games coming up next year on the blog.
Swirl.
Shopping for insurance can be a tedious and frustrating task, but the agents at Brokers Insurance Agency will do the work for you. They have partnered with over 20 of the best insurance carriers in the nation, which allows them to do the shopping all for you. Whether you're looking for business insurance or employee benefits for your company, or you're looking to save money on your home and auto insurance, Brokers Insurance Agency has the agents and solutions to help meet your goals. Call 402-420-5353 or email staff@brokersinsurancene.com.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the KNTK Studios, 330 North 48th Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Sponsored by John Henry's Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning.
Very warm and windy today. Could be near record highs as we'll top out at 86 with south winds eventually gusting over 35. But we'll also be watching for the threat of severe thunderstorms towards this evening into tonight. Overnight, we drop to a low of 34. Windy and much cooler tomorrow. Highs in the low 50s. Northwest winds gusting over 30. I'm meteorologist Tim Wright for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
There's nothing quite like the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese beef. The Mercado offers unique ingredients you can't find anywhere else, open every day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. The full-service butcher shop and retail store is wonderful for meat lovers with their exclusive Certified Piedmontese beef and assorted sausages, plus other quality meats, including pork, chicken, and a wide range of the freshest seafood. Plus, every Friday from 11 to 2, the Mercado serves up the best lunch in town on their Friday Feast menu. Stop in at the Mercado today at 84th and Havelock or visit their website at cpmercado.com to see current deals.
Your home should not be a zoo to unwelcomed animals. Let the experts at Bats to Rats take care of those problems. Dane has been a leader in wildlife and pest management and prevention in Lincoln and the surrounding area for 15 years. He can help you get rid of bats, rodents, and anything else. Whether it's residential or commercial buildings, schools, apartments, or churches, they're always a phone call away. Call today at 402-310-0904 or visit batsrats.com. Bats to Rats Wildlife Control and Prevention.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now. In our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
You know you want that smoky, tangy, sweet, and spicy sauced and tossed Wingstop. But you just brought a haul of groceries home from the store. It's cool. No one expects you to shop and cook in the same day. So let the flavor experts at Wingstop hook you up with mouth-watering wings, crispy tenders and thighs, fries and sides delivered to your door. You can always cook tomorrow. That's why the fridge was invented. Get it delivered at wingstop.com.
Order online now from the new Wingstop located at 5001 O Street.
These days, there are more reasons than ever to treat yourself to a great haircut at Great Clips with the online check-in app. So tell us, why do you check in?
I check in because I'm tired of hat hair. I check in because we all need a cut.
I check in so I can feel like me.
And I check in so I look good for you.
No matter why you check in, you'll check out with a great haircut and save time with our online check-in app. Great Clips. It's going to be great.
Have you ever wanted to build a catapult? Have you ever wanted to launch something other than water balloons with a water balloon launcher? Do you want to be a national champion? Then you need to get a team and sign up for the National Avocado Launching Championship, May 21st in North Platte. That's right. The National Avocado Launching Championship is taking place right here in Nebraska. Launch avocados for fame and glory. Sign up at avocadolaunching.com. That is avocadolaunching.com. And remember, the top prize is $5,000.
Back to On the Block with Strick and Bach on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
It is time for Hitting the Hardwood, and these days we have a few Hitting the Hardwood segments as the NBA playoffs is taking shape as we see it tonight. The play-in games for the 7th seed. Reminder that the 7th seed and the 8th seed play. The winner of tonight's games will win the 7th seed. The 8th seed will be determined by here in the week, actually, because if you lose tonight, you have to play the winner of the 9-10 play-in game to get to the 8th seed. So it's kind of fun. Overall, Strick, what do you think about the play-in tournament? Is it too much? It's automatic game 7s once they get into the 8th seed. It's also just dealing with the bottom part of the playoffs. But this year, it's actually pretty intriguing because the Nets tonight, if they win, will be the 7th seed and take on Boston, who got the number 2 seed. There was a lot of positioning going on up there at the top to try to avoid the Nets. Perhaps the Nets could lose tonight and get the 8th seed and take over, still be the favorites against the Heat probably. But I find it fascinating tonight, and I'm certainly going to be cheering for the Cavs. Hopefully playoff Rondo shows up so the Celtics can avoid the Nets is my goal. But either way, the play-in tournament, do you like it? Do you think it adds to the experience, or do you think you kind of like the traditional 8 best teams get in?
Well, I actually like it, right? Because I think that for a long period of time, there was just so much contentment. You play some games have intensities, some don't. When you get to a certain spot, when you're locked in, then all of a sudden you kind of just turn it in and you just fall into wherever it may. You know what I mean? If you're in the 4th, 5th, or 6th seed and the other teams are 4 or 5 games back, you just kind of, mail it in a little bit. But if you're at risk of dropping to a certain spot of that play-in tournament, then it makes it a little bit more spicy. I think also it provides a little bit more fight, because sometimes the first round can be okay, but I think it just kind of gives you a little bit more spice, puts a little bit more spunk into it. I like the thought of what some people had said about maybe shrinking the tournament to be to 6 teams. So now you got to fight. Like every game means something at that point, where, Right now, the 8 teams with the playoffs, it's just so much that's being done. Shoot, if you want guys to not be sitting out like they're getting right now, maybe shrink it up a little bit. That makes every game that much more important.
Yeah, I agree with you. The problem is the money's probably in the expanded playoffs, which we're seeing across all sports. Baseball already expanded their playoffs. The NFL just expanded their playoffs. College football looking to expand the playoffs. The college basketball expands their playoffs even when they have 64 teams in it. They need more. So we all know that the expanded playoffs lead to more money. But I agree with you. I think that would be fascinating, at least even just a trial run 1 year, just to see how heated it would be going down to the end of the regular season. It's tough to get one of those top 6 spots. So that would be fascinating. However, I love the 8. Like I said, the NBA playoffs are my favorite because especially in the first round, there's like sometimes 3-4 games on, you can turn it on to like 11:30 at night. There's a game in the third quarter. I just absolutely love that. There's the drama, there's the matchups, and that's what I wanted to talk to you about. I know that tonight these are just kind of one-offs as we do the play-in tournament, but you kind of mentioned earlier in the show, it's just a fascinating time because certain guys, even go back to Tyronn Lue and his story with the Lakers, which ultimately got him a nice contract with the Wizards, is that they had him as the scout team Allen Iverson. And he was doing so good as the scout team Allen Iverson in those finals that they said, hey, maybe we should give this a shot. And he ended up being a small part of that championship team, playing an extended role as he had before and earning a spot there in Washington to get a better contract. But as you've mentioned before, it even happened to you where coaching adjustments, sometimes guys overcoach, and you'll see different guys take on different roles for the season. And I know it sounds like I might be making a joke. Everybody, if you listen long enough, know I'm a huge Rondo guy, but playoff Rondo shows up, right? Usually he saves his energy, and his game style is reckless, driving to the basket because he'd get hurt too much in his career till national TV games or playoffs. So it's just a different level of play come playoff time. Do you expect to see that tonight in these playoff games?
Absolutamundo. I think it's going to be intense. I think I'm definitely feeling that Brooklyn's going to try to lay the hammer down because you don't want to go into that second one. You want to just get this done, know where you're at, know where you're traveling, you have all that stuff set, and get that in motion. I think that's part of being in that 7-8 slot, that you want to lock that game down to solidify that 7 spot. If you're in that position, then not have to pay those extra games is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and reminder that for Cleveland, like tonight could be, Cavaliers probably don't have NBA championship aspirations, but if you beat the Nets, for your young team, this is kind of put you on the map as free agents start looking. So big game for them tonight. Obviously, Boston's going to be looking very closely at who wins that game. The Nets are still going to be right up there among the favorites if they do indeed make these playoffs, which they probably will. Also, Clippers in Minnesota tonight. Again, for the Clippers, you don't have Kawhi Leonard. You still are hoping to bring back Paul George now. But for Tyronn Lue, I always follow Tyronn Lue very closely. Obviously, proud of him as an ex-Husker. And in his career, he's kind of worked out this just idea that he's a team. Don't sleep on him. If he gets behind 3-1, he's able to come back. So I can't wait for these playoffs. Somebody off the text line says 2 months is too long for the playoffs. I disagree. I don't mind it. Absolutely enjoy this stuff. So that will wrap it up there today for On the Block. We do not have ticket weeknights tonight, so we'll just send it out to national programming. But we will be back tomorrow with all our programming, including On the Block here. Would like to thank everybody for listening today, and of course, have a good night. We will see you tomorrow.